WWL Louisiana News at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us on the WWL Louisiana News at 4. I'm Devin Bartolotta. Here are today's top headlines. From Texas to Pennsylvania, more than 84 million Americans are under extreme cold warnings after a massive winter storm swept across around 2/3 of the country. And while we were spared from the snow and the ice, we are battling a deep freeze. Nationwide, around 12,000 flights were canceled yesterday and thousands more were delayed. So far today, cancellations sit at more than 5,000, with delays totaling nearly 16,000. Multiple airports in the Northeast were closed yesterday as crews worked to clear ice and snow off of runways. Here, Armstrong International Airport, not directly impacted, but flights in and out have been. So make sure you check with your airline if you plan on flying out in the next few days. Meanwhile, the storm is blamed for at least a dozen deaths, including one man in DeSoto Parish who died of carbon monoxide poisoning. 2 men in Caddo Parish died of hypothermia. Preventing these tragedies is why multiple warming shelters have opened across the area. You can find a list of all of those on our website, and officials are urging you to check up on your family, your friends, your neighbors as this cold weather continues. And it was a snow day for almost every student around Southeast Louisiana today. Most school districts closed out of an abundance of caution, but tomorrow you'll probably need to get your kids out the door early again because pretty much everyone will be heading back out to class. And just like those warming shelters, you can find the most up-to-date list of what is impacted on our website. That's on WWLTV.com. And Chris, there is no other way to put it. It is cold.
It is cold. It is cold for most folks, even if you're accustomed to it up north.
It is still cold.
Staying in the 30s for most of the day is cold. We were in the 20s to start the morning, but the wind chills, I was just getting those numbers, were in the teens across the area. The only areas that saw wind chills in the single digits were around the Baton Rouge area, but many of us saw wind chills around 13 to 15 degrees.
Wow.
So that's where it felt like this morning. We won't really have the wind chills tomorrow morning, but the air temperatures may actually be a bit colder than this. We're in the 20s to start the day today, but we'll likely see actual air temperatures in the teens across parts of the North Shore. Not everyone, but definitely going to be a cold start. And we stayed chilly all day today. Many of us just in the last couple of hours getting into the low 40s, with most of the day today being spent in the 30s. So that extreme cold warning will continue until noon tomorrow. We might see wind chills again, not as cold as this morning, but near 16 degrees. However, air temperatures will be colder. This is what it will actually be. 18 degrees across much of the North Shore and mid-20s south of the lake. On Wednesday morning, however, another hard freeze where pipes would need to be protected north of the lake, but in the city and on the South Shore for Wednesday morning, the pipes are fine. And we'll kind of break down pipe weather, what we mean when we talk about that, coming up.
And as we deal with the cold today, we are also, of course, looking ahead to the weekend. 11 carnival parades are scheduled all across the area, like the not so family-friendly Crew de Vue in the French Quarter on Saturday, and the very family-friendly Crew of Little Rascals in Metairie on Sunday. And you're definitely going to need a coat if you're planning out to head to those or any others. Alyssa Curtis joining us now. Alyssa, I know you've been talking to parade organizers today. Whether you are a big kid or a little kid, what'd you find out?
It's a good weekend for parades, definitely all across the area. So many, but like you guys said, it's going to be so cold. I talked to Crew of Titans who rolls on Friday in Slidell, and they say they're ready to go. They're used to this. Okay. They usually, start rolling in the early kind of time period of Carnival. So like, we're used to this. This isn't even the worst that we've seen during our parade's time. So they're ready to go. They're just having everyone kind of bundle up on the parade, both on the floats and on the parade route. So bundle up, keep warm. But they're rolling really, like Chris said, a little bit before that brutally cold weather starts. Looking to Saturday, Crew de Vue rolls on Saturday, and that's going to be really cold in the French Quarter. But they're the same. They say we worked so hard for the past few months that we really want to get our fun parade out to the community. We could all use a little bit some laughs right now, so they're just really excited to show everyone what they're working on.
It does seem like the overall attitude is it's going to take a lot more than this to stop Carnival celebrations.
I mean, we've seen like such inclement weather. I mean, in January, February, March, you never know what you're going to get in New Orleans and the greater New Orleans area. So I think, you know, to stop our party, to stop our fun, it's going to have to take a lot more than this.
All
So
right.
the big jackets, bring them out, bring some of the beanies. And hey, they might throw some things that we can use on the parade route. Yeah,
Okay.
so.
Sounds good. All right, you got your full story coming up at 6.
Coming up
Lots
at
of
6.
interviews. All right, Alyssa, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And remember, you can always find the latest updates on this story and all of today's headlines on our website, our free smartphone app, and on our social media pages. Today, fallout continues after another deadly shooting in Minneapolis. Saturday's death was the second just this month by federal agents in the city. The Department of Homeland Security claims the man was brandishing a gun, but videos clearly show that is not true. The victim has been identified as Alex Preddy, an intensive care nurse at Minneapolis's VA hospital. Multiple videos show agents spraying a chemical irritant, then wrestling Preddy to the ground. An agent then appears to pull a legally registered gun from his waist. A second later, another agent shot him. Witnesses say Preddy was holding his phone and, quote, did not approach the agents with a gun. Today, a federal judge issued a temporary restraining order to block the Department of Homeland Security from altering or destroying any evidence. Meanwhile, President Trump said in a social media post today that he had a, quote, very good call with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz about Saturday's shooting. Erica Brown joins us now from Capitol Hill, where Senate Democrats are threatening to block a crucial vote to fund the Department of Homeland Security this week without additional restrictions on ICE. Erica?
Well, Devin, another partial government shutdown could be looming as part of the fallout from Saturday's deadly shooting in Minneapolis, with Democrats now pledging to block a spending package that includes funding for ICE. It comes as the White House and Minnesota's governor says they are working to coordinate immigration enforcement in the state. In the wake of Saturday's fatal shooting of U.S. citizen Alex Preddy by federal agents in Minneapolis, President Trump announced that he spoke with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz Monday, saying the two leaders seem to be on a similar wavelength.
We hope Governor Walz will do the right thing and continue to work with President Trump to keep the American people safe following their call this morning.
According to a statement from Governor Walz's office, the president agreed to look into reducing the number of federal agents in Minnesota and working with the state in a more coordinated fashion on immigration enforcement regarding violent criminals. The White House shared some of what the president expects from local authority.
Local police must assist federal law enforcement in apprehending and detaining illegal aliens who are wanted for crimes, especially violent crimes.
Trump also posted that he's sending his so-called border czar, Tom Homan, to Minnesota, who will report to him.
I know Tom. I worked with him for a number of years. I would hope that he would bring some light and some reasonable to this.
Following Saturday's shooting, Senate Democrats and at least one independent are refusing to vote for a bill that would fund the Department of Homeland Security, and that could trigger another partial government shutdown at the end of the week.
I can't vote for a bill that includes ICE funding under these circumstances.
The Senate's 53 Republicans need the help of 7 Democrats or independents to keep the government open. Now, some senators are pushing for Homeland Security funding, which includes ICE, to be removed from that massive spending package and put in a separate bill in order to avert a shutdown. Reporting from Capitol Hill, Erica Brown, WWL Louisiana.
Looking now ahead to what we're watching for the rest of this week. Early voting will resume tomorrow. It was suspended today because of those frigid temperatures, but polling places will reopen at 8:30 in the morning. Early voting continues through Friday. Election day is February 7th. State Senate District 3 is up for grabs, representing parts of Orleans and St. Bernard parishes. House District seats 197 are also open. On Thursday, a new exhibit will open at the Presbytere, celebrating the legacy of Black carnival societies. It will feature rare gowns, crowns, photos, and videos, as well as immersive installations. And it will showcase 2 of the nation's oldest Black social organizations that helped shape carnival traditions in New Orleans. On Friday, we'll get a peek at this year's Bacchus floats and its throws. The cruise theme this year is Bacchus Celebrates America 250, of course, in honor of the 250th anniversary of the founding of our nation. This year's parade is on Sunday, February 15th, and their roll begins at 5:15 along the traditional uptown route. If you don't want to head out, you can watch it from the comfort of your home. That starts at 10 that night, right here on WWL Louisiana. Still ahead on the WWL Louisiana News at 4 with cold weather continuing. We're checking on what you need to do to keep your pipes from freezing and how you can fix any issues if they do. Plus, tax season is kicking off, and for many people, this year could actually bring a higher return. We'll let you know how.
We did set some records this morning and during the afternoon, could again tomorrow, and possibly colder next weekend. All of that coming up.
Danny Griffin is the owner of Pipes R Us, here with us to give us some tips on what to do whenever we have these freezing temperatures, how to keep from having to call the plumber. Danny, thank you so much for giving us some advice today. You said you guys have actually not been busy today.
No, we actually have not got any phone calls for freezes as of right now.
So what are your general tips? How do you prevent your pipes from freezing in general in this weather?
Well, we tell everybody when you go ahead and run your water, you run the furthest point away from the front of your house where the water comes in, but you also, it's your hot side that you want to run, because especially if you're outdoor tankless water heater or an outside tank water heater, you want to make sure that that water is flowing through, and that's the best way to do it. You're never going to be able to get all of your points through as far as every single faucet, and you don't want to run every single faucet because you don't want to drop the water pressure in the city, because that would be difficult for fire and rescue and stuff like that. So really, truthfully, it's best to run the furthest fixture away from the front of your house, the hot side on a trickle.
So whenever we talk about these freezing temperatures, how cold does it usually have to get to pose a big problem? And I guess how long does it have to be that cold for it to be an issue?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm not a meteorologist, but what I can say is the last time we've dealt with a horrific freeze, it was in the teens for at least a day. And that's when the pipes really started bursting bad. But, you know, when it reaches freezing, and it's only freezing, I'll call it minor freezing, within, you know, a 4 or 5 period time, it's not going to really do that much damage. It's just not. I mean, we run new pipes in what they call PEX pipes, and it's pretty durable, and it'll expand and contract up to 1 or 2 times the size of its original diameter. So that helps out a lot. A lot of people listened after the major freeze and got their stuff insulated. Even when we do new construction or we do any kind of remodels, the homeowners are asking us to insulate the water lines. So people are listening, and people are doing what we tell them to do. So that's why I think we're just not having a lot of calls.
So if somebody did not listen, they didn't wrap their pipes on the outside or didn't run their water or whatever, how do you know for sure that freezing is the issue? And do you call a plumber right away, or do you give it a day or two to thaw? What's your advice there?
Well, you know, what you have to look at is going to be basically, if you go to turn your water on, obviously nothing comes out. So that's going to tell you you have water, that you have frozen water, or if you can see some kind of split with a frozen ice around it on some of your pipes. Really, truthfully, the best way to tell is if you turn the water on and you're not getting anything from your faucets, that means you have frozen pipes. You need to locate the shutoff valve that's going to shut off the water to your house. So when it does defrost, you can shut off the water until the plumber can get out.
Okay, so that's very good advice, because that's when you potentially have a flood on your hands, right? If one of those pipes has burst and you didn't realize it.
Right, and that's the best way, because a lot of people, you need to know where the shutoff valve to your house is for any emergency, because the last thing you want to do is have water going off everywhere. And we have what they call water keys that we use to shut off water meters. Not every homeowner is going to have that, so you need to know where the shutoff at the house is. That's just a regular handle that you can just turn on and off as you need.
All right, so hopefully, I think one more night of this potentially. So
yes.
Who knows? Maybe you'll be getting some phone calls on Wednesday morning.
And it's a good possibility, but hopefully, you know, like I said, everybody listens and we can get on with our lives and, you know, move on from here. Another thing, too, what I tell everybody is, and I know this sounds really corny, but, you know, we're getting phone calls from this from time to time. It's not if the sun's up or if the sun's down. It is if the temperature is freezing. If it's freezing, run your water. Doesn't matter if the sun is up and the sun is out, it's still freezing.
That's interesting. I did not think that. I mean, people hear the urban legends, I think, all the time about what works, what doesn't work, and, well, this was fine last time, so good advice there.
Yeah, no,
All right.
just remember, freezing's freezing.
Freezing is freezing whether the sun is up or down. That's very good advice to keep in mind.
You know it's bad if we are freezing and the sun is out in southeast Louisiana. And today was a cold one, and we did have bright sunshine, but it was a cold start. At the airport, we were down to 27 degrees. That broke our record low, which was 29, set back in 1988. But even this afternoon, as we only barely got into the low 40s, that is also a record. It's a record lowest high. We didn't break it. Well, we tied it. Last time we were 41 degrees at our highest was back in 1966. So overall, it was a very cold day today. A wide look at visible satellite shows you we have mostly clear skies across much of the nation, and where what you don't see any movement, that is all of the snow and some ice. From basically the U.S.-Mexican border around El Paso into New Mexico, across the U.S. up into New England is packed with snow and some significant ice. Those areas also, for the most part, all at or below freezing. So that snow and ice not going anywhere. At least we did get above freezing during the day today, but look at our neighbors just up in Jackson. 28 is their current temperature. Upper 30s and low 40s outside right now. So if we had, and thankfully I didn't see any reports in from either our newsroom or from the Weather Service about any ice issues north of the lake. That was our biggest concern. What rain fell during the day, if it didn't clear out, could have seen some patchy areas of ice. Thankfully didn't hear of any reports. Everyone got above freezing during the day today. So if we had ice, that is no longer an issue. Now the issue tomorrow morning is that the air temperature will actually be colder than we were this morning. Everyone was in the 20s this morning. Tomorrow morning, though, more likely to see some teens and 20s. So while we won't have as much of a wind chill per se, it is actually going to be colder. And we'll have one more morning of a hard freeze. And we're going to be right on the border of a hard freeze. And when I talk about a hard freeze, that is in reference to the possibility of pipe type concerns, and that would be on the North Shore. South Shore, notice we're going to be right at or just below freezing for maybe a couple of hours. Another freeze on Thursday morning, but no longer a hard freeze. Friday morning is the only morning this week that we are expecting everyone to be above freezing, because by Saturday morning the temperature drops again. So looking ahead, as far as a pipe concern goes, I would consider the pipe issue both sides of the lake. Our computer model indicating not cold enough for a long enough duration in the city, but if you want to err on the side of caution, just before you go to bed, start that thin trickle of water. And as you heard our plumbing experts say, the faucet farthest away from the main line where it comes into your home. Again, widespread below 20 degrees on the North Shore. As far as a pipe concern on Wednesday morning, doesn't appear to be an issue. Maybe some patchy areas on the North Shore, but certainly not a widespread concern. And then finally, not really a concern. As far as the pipes go, again, don't unwrap them, but you won't need to any longer run water as you go into the next couple of mornings. Again, one more morning tomorrow morning. And we stay chilly all this week. Again, the only morning with no freezes is going to be Friday, and this weekend is looking to be even colder as a second surge of Arctic air comes right out of Hudson Bay. This Arctic air is going to make a beeline down to the deep south and kind of center itself over the Georgia-Tennessee line as we head into the start of the weekend. That cold of an air mass that far south is definitely going to bring us even colder weather for this weekend. We will not see any wintry weather, so that is not a concern. The concern is going to be the parades, because Saturday night temperatures will likely be, as parades start rolling, already below freezing and windy, making it feel probably 10 degrees colder. And then Sunday morning air temperatures will be in the teens and 20s. Now Sunday during the day we will see sunny skies and highs in the lower 40s, but overall it does look like another very cold air mass on the way. Teens and 20s to start the day tomorrow. We'll all be in the 40s during the afternoon, and then low 50s by Wednesday afternoon. Upper 50s Thursday, low 50s Friday. Temperatures start dropping overnight. We are colder on Saturday, Sunday morning. Highs on Saturday, likely everyone staying in the 30s all day, and that's under sunny skies. You know it's a cold air mass, and we remain chilly even heading into the start of next week.
Welcome back. And today's story is impacting your wallet. Tax season is here and many Americans could see higher refunds this year. The Treasury Department estimates they'll average $1,000 more per household. That's because many filers did not adjust their withholdings when recent income tax breaks began. A new law boosts the individual standard deduction by $750 and by twice that for married couples. It also expands state and local tax deductions and gives a new break to some seniors. Last week, President Trump signed a new executive order aimed at boosting the sluggish housing market. The median home price is $430,000. That's up just 0.4% since December of 2024, but that's 30% more than 2020. The president's order is an attempt to increase the supply of homes to buy by preventing Wall Street investors from purchasing single-family homes for the rental market. But some experts say that won't have much of an impact because investors are just a small slice of the market. According to Freddie Mac, the mortgage rate for a 30-year loan is at 6%. The president is threatening a 100% tariff on goods from Canada if the country proceeds with a Chinese trade deal. Canada agreed to lower tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles in exchange for decreased tariffs on Canadian farm products. President Trump applauded the deal at first, but his position changed after Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney criticized his speech in Switzerland last week, in which President Trump said, quote, "Canada lives because of the United States." How is your credit score? If it's not so great, there are ways to bring that up. For more on how, here's Brianna Boudreau with your Money Moment.
Money Moment on 4.
In today's Money Moment segment, with most of us stuck inside today because of the cold, let's use this time to do a check on our finances, particularly your credit score. The goal is to eventually reach a perfect 800 score. So here's what experts say you need to do in order to achieve that, or hey, at least get as close as possible. Achieving a credit score of 800 or higher can help unlock the lowest interest rates, ranging from auto loans to credit cards. It's not easy, though. Only 1 in 4 Americans has managed to reach that level. Now, most banks rely on the FICO score, which ranges from 300 to a maximum of 850 to assess a consumer's credit worthiness. Hitting that 800-point milestone may be more critical in 2026 than ever before. Experts say anyone applying for credit should take every step they can to improve their score to get the lowest interest rates from lenders. So what is a good credit score? Well, let's first take a look at the range here. You can see right there on your screen, poor starts about 300 to 579, and that is a decent percent of Americans right now. Then you have fair, good, very good, about 740 to 799, and that exceptional range, that 800 to 850, and that's what we're shooting for. And now, how can I boost my score to 800? According to Experian, your FICO score is determined by 5 key factors. So take a look at your screen here, each carrying a different weight. So it starts there with payment history. Then you're going to go to amount owed, also known as credit utilization, which we'll talk more about, length of credit history, credit mix, recent credit application. Now, because payment history is the most impactful of these factors, accounting for 35% of your total credit score, experts emphasize that consistently paying accounts on time is the single most important step you can take. Obviously, that does take time, but you want to stay up with it. Set those reminders in your phone. Set a reminder, and on your calendar, wherever you can do it, so that you keep those payments on time. Now, you can avoid applying for too much credit too often. Also, just because you can borrow up to a certain amount doesn't mean that you should. Keep your utilization rate low. Managing a variety of credit types, such as credit cards, auto loans, and mortgages, can also help boost your credit score. I'm Brianna Boudreau. That's your Money Moment this Monday.
And you can get more Money Moments from Bree, plus the latest news, weather, and traffic from Brandon, Peyton, Leah, and the rest of our WWL Louisiana morning crew by tuning in every weekday morning starting at 5. Still ahead on the news at 4, the cold weather continues tonight with major impacts nationwide, having a ripple effect on our area. What you need to know as temperatures stay at or near freezing. Plus, memorials continue to grow in Minneapolis after a second deadly shooting by federal agents. Now, local leaders are calling for change.